We had to start the 101 Stadium bucket list countdown with quite possibly one of the most scenic locations for the beautiful game I have ever seen. Svangasgard Stadium is located in the village of Tofte in the Faroe Islands, holding 6,000 people with both seating and terracing, but excluding the nice wee hill you can perch yourself on outside the ground. Local side B68 Tofte call this place home. They have won the Faroe Islands Premier League 3 times since their founding in 1962. An impressive feat when you've got to compete against the giants from Torshavn. Surprisingly, a fully grass pitch, a rarity for countries in Scandinavia and the North Sea. Somehow Scottish teams complain they can't get grass to grow, but an island getting battered by the ocean has no issues. Very odd. Built in 1980, but was gradually improved over time to meet UEFA standards in 1991, meaning it could host the national team. And it has. In a 2-1 victory against Malta, the ground achieved a record attendance of 6,642. I couldn't do episode 1 without featuring the home of my beloved AS Roma. The Stadio Olimpico is a multi-purpose venue in Italy's capital, Rome. The second largest ground in the country, behind Milan's San Siro. Don't worry, we'll get there. With a capacity of over 70,000. Much like many of Italy's football stadiums, it's not owned by the clubs that play in it. Neither Roma or Lazio are the operators of the Olimpico. As you could probably guess by the name, Italy's National Olympic Committee handles the running alongside another government agency. Both clubs have been tenants of the ground since 1953, but it's unknown how many years left Roma will have in this iconic venue, with the club hoping to start building the Stadio della Roma soon, although they have been saying that for a number of years. The new ground would allow Roma to garner more revenue and compete with the powerhouses in Milan and Turin. The ability to make money from other events, like concerts and gladiator fights. There's a beautiful charm to Italian stadiums, although they are slightly terrifying with all the loose concrete. You all knew this one was coming. There was no point in delaying it any longer. If you were to Google iconic football stadiums, the Estadio Municipal de Braga would be near the top of that list. Nicknamed the Quarry, this legendary Portuguese stadium is carved into the side of a hill, giving you a beautiful view from the southeast. Designed by legendary Porto-born architect Eduardo Soto de Moira, for which he was awarded the Pritzker Architecture Prize. For a stadium of its size, just over 30,000, it cost a lot of money by early 2000s standards, coming to over 108 million euros, the third most expensive stadium built for Euro 2024. A large amount of this can be contributed to the sheer amount of rock that needed to be shifted. Well worth it in the end though, as the stadium is a UEFA approved site, allowing it to host Europa League finals and other elite competitions in Europe. This incredible venue is so widely appreciated it was acknowledged by the Financial Times as one of the world's 4 beautiful grounds. La Bombonera, or the Chocolate Box, is a legendary football stadium located in La Boca, Buenos Aires, Argentina. The ground is owned by Boca Juniors, one of South America's biggest clubs. An estimated 40% of the entire Argentine population and roughly 18 million people worldwide follow the team that featured Diego Maradona, Carlos Tevez, Juan Roman Riquelme, and Martin Palermo. Its nickname comes from its unique shape, the flat stand on one side and 3 steep ones surrounding it. The originally named Alberto Jose Armando Stadium is known to move noticeably on match day, although from the perspective of writer Christopher Gaffney, it beats like a heart, it does not shake. This is the only place in the world you'll find Coca-Cola advertised without its well-recognised red and white design, as those colours represent the mortal enemy River Plate. The drink's giant advertises in black and white instead. Probably a good idea. It's not just the inside of this stadium of 52,000 seats you should be excited to see, but many works of art and murals in the surrounding areas, several of which depict the lives of residents of La Boca, usually dock workers and people wearing Boca Juniors kits. Has there ever been a more controversial yet beautiful stadium than the Pancho Arena? Located outside Budapest and home ground of Puskás Academia, this 3,500-seater arena was designed by renowned Hungarian architect Imre Makovits, featuring prominent proponents of organic architecture as a fuck you to the brutalism of buildings that can be seen around a lot of Eastern Europe. A wood-lined interior, which according to StadiumDB.com makes you feel like you're attending church rather than a football match. However, it wouldn't be right to talk about the Pancho without the numerous controversies. Prime Minister Viktor Orban visited the village the stadium is located in many times in his childhood and has a great fondness for it, which fueled allegations of corruption when the stadium was announced to be built in this village of around 1,500 people, just meters from his lavish estate. The stadium is also the home of the Israeli national team, who have had to relocate with the ongoing conflict. The ground was categorised by FIFA as a 2-star elite, very high recognition indeed. Let's head out to the Far East, more specifically Indonesia. Located in central Jakarta, the country's capital region, the Gelora Bung Karno National Stadium is the home of club side Persija Jakarta and the Indonesian national team. A multi-use stadium but with a focus on football, the ground is named after the first president of Indonesia, who secured the country's freedom from Dutch colonialists and served in the office for 22 years. You wouldn't guess by looking at it, but they broke ground on the 77,000-seater monster in 1960 and opened just 2 years later. Although the original building was said to fit 110,000, but that could just be rumour. Despite the huge capacity, it sits 28th on the largest association football stadiums list, but is the 8th largest in Asia. You'll be sick of hearing about the Premier League's most interesting ground this season, but we're going to make you hear about it one more time. Kenilworth Road is the home of Luton Town, a stadium that is equal parts ugly and striking. The club's home since 1905, it holds a capacity of 12,000, almost unheard of in the Premier League era. The beauty of this one is purely in how much of an oddity it is. The away end of the ground is lined up by terrace houses, fans getting into the stand and going upstairs where you quite literally see into people's gardens. Located in the densely packed Bury area of the town, it's beyond a throwback, it's downright historical. It may be dated, but you can't deny the sentimental value of this place. The club is planning to move to the Power Court, currently under development, which will be surrounded by restaurants, hotels, bars, and become just as tourist orientated as other Premier League grounds. But I'm sure Hatters fans will never forget that season where all the country's big boys, United, City, Chelsea, had to sweat it out in the compact Quasimodo of a stadium. Girondins Bordeaux is almost the definition of a fallen giant. This wounded French powerhouse, currently languishing in League 2. However, they play in quite possibly the world's most beautiful stadium. Certainly the best one in France, I have no doubt about that. My eyes were immediately drawn to the many metal columns that surround and support, purely in white, catching the sun wonderfully and radiating light. From the outside, I would think it's an art gallery rather than the home of a middling second division side. It's not even the stadium itself, but the surrounding scenes. Although you'd struggle on the ground, every picture and drone shot gives you an incredible view of the Gironde River barely a stone's throw away. This 42,000-seater stadium cost a surprisingly affordable €183 million. But weird to call it affordable. I mean, certainly my credit card limit ain't that good, but you know what I mean. Oh, and the Stade de Bordeaux has hosted concerts, the first being French-Canadian singer Celine Dion. And now, my bucket list will go on. Our second visit out east, but our first to the land of the rising sun. The IAI Stadium Nihondaira is located in Shizuoka and the home stadium of J-League's Shimizu S Pulse. I'm well aware I've butchered all those pronunciations, but please go easy on me, internet. To many it may just look standard, cookie cutter, but you're missing the breathtaking, unobscured view of Mount Fuji. The view is so good it led to a conspiracy theory that the reason the back stand only had a roof that was 2/3 long was for this reason exactly. Unfortunately, like life, the truth is always more boring. And it's purely for the fact that there's an access road behind that part of the stand, so it wasn't worth the expense of expanding the roof. The pitch won the award of the J-League's best a record 9 times, and at 8 of those years being in a row, up until 2015. The ground's west stand, nicknamed the Cop, homes the club's more colourful and loud supporters, complete with a band for a carnival-esque atmosphere. Something I low-key love. Excluding a handful, all seats in the stadium are unreserved, creating a first-come, first-served attitude. I fucking love the anarchy of that. Heading to Homer Simpson's favourite country, Uruguay, Estadio Gran Parque Central is the stadium of Club Nacional de Football, one of Montevideo's biggest clubs. 64 domestic honours, they were founded 125 years ago in 1899 and have played at El Parque since 1901. The 15th oldest professionally recognised stadium in the world. You'd never have guessed it. The club and the stadium are quite noticeably clad in white, blue and red, the colours inspired by Uruguayan national hero José Gervasio Artigues. A capacity of 34,000 is expected to increase to closer to 40,000 in the coming years, going through a whole raft of modernisation since 2003, to bring it up to standard and to make sure the thing was ready for hosting games at the 2030 World Cup. 100 years after this amazing ground hosted the opening match of the 1930 World Cup, the first match in the history of the competition, the game was commemorated with a plaque reading United States 3, Belgium 0, America, fuck yeah. Our first visit on the 101 to the 412. We head to Pennsylvania, USA, where the Pittsburgh River Hounds ply their trade at Highmark Stadium. A lot of you may think American soccer starts and ends with the MLS. But let me burst that bullshit bubble for you right now. The United Soccer League is a delightful blend of tactical nous, passionate fan culture and lower league charm. This 5,000-seater stadium may not jump out the screen at you, but there's a lot to love. A picturesque location right next to the Monongahela River, with a phenomenal view of one of the sister bridges. The turf is one of only 6 in the United States to be awarded FIFA's 2-star certification, alongside of the likes of Providence Park, CenturyLink Field and the Gillette Stadium, some of which you'll see later on in the list. The ground had to make the list for the views alone. Imagine this with a beer, football. I could not imagine many sweeter things more than life than that.